Good morning, everyone, and welcome to episode 11 of Cage Report. We've got our good buddy Jack Moore alongside with us here this morning. Just a quick wrap up for winter sports. Colton, you want to take that away?
Yeah, starting off with swimming, they finished second at state after winning back-to-back state titles the last 2 years, just falling short of Lincoln East. It was a season where they looked like the favorites for state at a lot of points. I know a lot of the swim guys were disappointed with the end result, but finishing second in state is no small task. That's a season where they performed really well. Regardless of whether or not they won, I think there's a lot that they can be proud of from this year.
Absolutely. I mean, you and I, we've seen firsthand a lot of these guys and how much it meant to them. Like this, obviously, falling short for the third straight year, falling short of a third straight title. It's hard. I mean, it's on the outside, it's easy enough to say, okay, they won the last two. They didn't quite get the third one done. But it meant a lot to the team. Like the guys, it's been a little hard to swallow for.
Yeah, and then with a ton of seniors on the team, they all really cared. They wanted to end out on a good note. And a lot of them did individually, but just the team aspect, they fell a little short. But overall, they got a season to be really proud of.
Absolutely. I mean, it's bittersweet because the team, a lot of teams would be incredibly happy to have runner up. I mean, it's always tough to be the first one right below the podium of the first place champion, but I mean, it's bittersweet because so much success in this team. There's still so much to celebrate, but one less trophy in the case, one less year on the banners. It's gonna sting for a while. But on a higher note, team with a now new unveiled banner is wrestling. We talked to Coach Fisher just last week, but first state title in school history. I believe it's it was the 96 years of the state meet. They said it last night. I can't remember the date of the number, but
It was a lot.
it was a lot of years,
been
a lot of years of the state tournament meet. Junior Jays getting their first title, qualifying 13 of the 14 weight classes. And what Coach Fisher said that I found interesting was after Friday evening, it was mathematically impossible for them to lose, which I was not aware of. But 7 finalists, and at that point, a big lead. Just what a dominant performance from the wrestling team.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot good about the way last night transpired, but seeing that wrestling banner unveiled was really cool. It was great to see for the guys who have worked so hard to get to this point. I know it means a lot to Coach Fisher. And next couple of years, they're set up to be really good, be the favorite for state each of the next 2 seasons at the very least. So it's exciting to see what this team has in store for them in the future.
Yeah, maybe next year we can win by a little more than 81 points because that wasn't, really good already. So
Yeah. Fish was saying that one of the quotes I think we have off of him is, like, by the time we're all done, there's not going to be any records that don't say Creighton Prep. So it's so much to look forward to there. He's built such a strong program at this point, and it's just feels like it's just the beginning of what could be one of the biggest dynasties in possibly the history of the school. So I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, we're all heading off to college, but I'm definitely excited to see how all of that ends up playing out. All right. And then you said, robotics capturing the state title this past weekend. So big congratulations to them. I know we know a couple of the guys on the team personally.
And now they're headed off to Worlds. So
one of 2 teams from Nebraska heading down to, I believe it's Houston, for Worlds. So that will be exciting to follow along. But yeah, once again, another big congratulations to the robotics team. I mean, what a program and what a team. It's just so much dominance.
Yeah, when you have a world ranking next to your name, that's
Means
that's pretty
that's
good.
usually pretty
and then
good.
when it's single digits,
that's a little
that's
less.
really good.
That's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, still unbeaten. They've been incredible this year. From my experience watching them in a few of their meets, they just dominate whatever their competition is. And Worlds are a long way away, but I think they've got a good shot to compete there.
I mean, obviously, we'll see how it all plays out. As you said, a single-digit number next to your name in a world ranking usually means good things. So we'll see. But was there anything else we wanted to talk about before we got to basketball, or did we cover all of our bases? Oh, hockey.
Yeah. Last night, not the way that this team wanted to go. Coming off of a state title, that first game against Tri-City might have been the one that they needed to win if they wanted to come out with a state title. It was a very close game, but Tri-City getting a couple of goals late and just I think that win put Prep in a position where they were looking to kind of win 2 games at the same time, and they just couldn't keep up that game last night, and just a rough way for the season to end after they looked so good during the regular season, but they're returning a lot of players, and they'll contend for state again next year.
Yeah, a lot of youth. That's the thing to kind of fall back on with teams like the hockey team. It's just there's so many young guys on the team that will carry forward. There's a lot of juniors on that team. But I mean, it's tough for the seniors. But a lot of them will still have the memory of being able to capture their state title last year. But that's easier to say on the outside. As we said with swimming, it's a tough pill to swallow, regardless of how many state titles in a row you're going for. So, basketball, definitely a bitter way to end the season. Hosting a district once again and losing the district final on your home court for the 3rd straight year, feels like they're unable to get over the hump at this point, and it's definitely tough as a fan, as guys who cover the team, and for the team. I mean, we're able to see firsthand just how much impact it has on the guys. It's definitely tough to watch, and we've experienced it a couple times now.
Yeah, seeing the way these last 3 years have transpired, losing in the district final all 3 years is just it's rough as a viewer of the team and someone who covers the team. They're so close to taking that jump and becoming one of the best teams in the state, and it just hasn't happened these last couple of years. So at some point, I think something needs to change. Some of the guys might have some extra fuel heading into next season, and that extra motivation to get over that hump, not make it 4 straight district final losses, get into state and do some good things there, because they have the talent to do it. They just need to put it all together and get over that last little barrier.
Absolutely. Only 2 seniors on the squad this year, but the loss of Trinell Parker's obviously gonna sting. But other than that, there is so much on this team to look forward to for next year. So many guys returning, a lot of talent coming back. So it'll be good. It'll be fun to see how the team responds. As you said, maybe add a little extra fuel for next year's campaign. So, I mean, we'll see how it all ends up playing out.
Yeah, and seeing some of the guys who haven't really been in that main role all year, like a Yule Dang or Cooper Knight or Sam Bonet or Sheldon Galladay these last couple really step up, and have some of their best performances of the year was good to see. Gives us some hope heading into next year. But they're going to have to continue to put that together over a whole season and get Torrin Carter-Brown and Max Jungers to really step into the lead roles next season with Parker gone. There'll be an off season where they're going to have to put a lot of work in to improve as a team and contend next year. But they definitely have the talent to do it. They'll just have to work and get over that hump.
Yep. I mean, what on a more broader note, I mean, what we were talking about it. There's so much parity throughout the entire year in Class A, and it's just pure chaos here as we begin March, and that doesn't apply just to college. It's high school.
The district host lost.
Yep, and it was two of them we thought were locks. Two of them were the ones that we said were like, oh, those are chalk. Those are no thought in our mind about those. But I mean, Westview and Prep, when they played back in January, they were 1-2 no, they weren't. They were 2 and was it 2 and 3?
It was a top 3 matchup.
It was a top 3 matchup. It was a top 3 matchup back in January.
Neither are in state.
And neither one of them are in state. Westview finishes with a 22-3 record and misses state by less than a tenth of a point in the PowerPoint system. I mean, that feels a little iffy. Do we have any opinions on that? I know that we've expressed some thoughts, but I mean, obviously it's easy enough to like throw around ideas. My idea was 16-team tournament, and then first round hosted by the higher seed, and then quarterfinals, semifinals, finals at PBA. I mean, obviously that's just an idea, but I mean, do you guys have any thoughts on the system that's currently in place? Because it's different throughout other sports. I believe baseball and soccer both have 6 districts and then 2 wildcard spots. Are there any thoughts you guys have on that?
There's always going to be someone left out, so it's just it always draws more attention when it's a top seed like Westview who gets left out because both the 2 and the 3 seed lost. So which rarely happens. So you would never draw attention to it unless it happens. And it did, so it's something to think about, but they had a great season, and it's like their 3rd year as a school, so when we're talking about that, that's pretty cool.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I personally like the idea of the 6 district hosts and 2 wildcard spots because both Westview and Westside should be in state. The top 3 teams in the state, especially teams that have looked as good as Westview and Westside, they shouldn't miss the entire state tournament just because they had one off game at the worst possible time. Seeing Westview do all that they have in just their 3rd year of existence as a school and to not even be able to make the state playoffs, that just doesn't feel right. So I think there's going to be a lot of conversations had about that. We'll see how it all shapes up heading into next year, but I find it kind of difficult to imagine that this system's going to remain the same as it is next year.
I mean, yeah, obviously, as Jack said, it's easy enough to point fingers and bring it up whenever it's a higher seed that's lost. And honestly, I don't think that any of us have really, at our time here in high school, I don't think we've really seen anything like that. It's always usually the lower seeds that are dropping games. But like you said, it's difficult when a team like Westview, who lost to Prep and then Papio, it was Millard North. They lost to Millard North. Their 2 losses coming to other district hosts, and then dropping one off game, having one off night, and it's hard. It's hard because it comes down to one game, and just pretty much everything that could have went wrong for the Wolverines last night went wrong. So it's tough to see from an outsider's perspective. Having watched that team all year long, they started out, I believe it was, 6-0, something like that. They started out the year incredibly well. They competed well in just their 3rd year as a school. So it's difficult to see that kind of thing where a team is left out, especially when they have a record like Westview's. So, like you said, there might be some conversation going forward, and that's with that happens in a lot of different scenarios. So it's easier said than done. Obviously, we're just a couple journalists, but yeah. I mean, it's a little sad to see.
Should we go on to spring sports?
All right, I think, yeah. So that'll wrap things up here for winter sports. But quick little turnaround. We've got a couple elite spring sports to look forward to. Obviously, first and foremost, soccer, looking for the three-peat. The three-peat.
Yep.
I mean, so many guys coming back, and this team, they're hungry.
Yeah, a lot of times when you've won 2 in a row, you're kind of like, okay, we're pretty good. But they felt disrespected in the offseason. You see, even the TikTok rankings, people are putting Lincoln Southwest at 1 or Omaha South at 1. And I've talked to a lot of the guys in our grade who are seniors, and they want to leave with a win. They want to leave with the 3-time state champions, and that's something we don't normally see a lot, so I'm excited for that.
Yeah, this team, feels like there's a chip on their shoulder. Obviously, as you mentioned, there's 2 straight Class A titles, but I don't think they feel like they're done.
Yeah, I mean, getting that three-peat, that third one is often the hardest to get. We've seen it not just in high school, but in other sports as well.
We don't have to talk about that.
Yeah.
I think there's a certain NFL team. Is there, Jack?
We're not going to talk about that. We're going to focus on prep sports.
Oh no, you didn't get a third straight Super Bowl.
We're going to focus on prep sports right now. We're talking about soccer.
But yeah, I mean, so many guys coming back from last year. Obviously, a lot of seniors lost from last year's team, but so many young guys from last year's team, underclassmen, that really shined all year long. First and foremost, obviously Jordan Aguenma, now a Creighton commit. Connor Lotus, Tim Dowd, Flynn McClay, Luis Tokporo. So many young guys that are still only juniors.
And we're going to see a lot of those younger guys get even more playing time, and a lot of the guys who even weren't on varsity last year stepping up and filling in roles for this team that were left behind by some of the seniors from last year. So this might be an interesting year to see what Prep's future in soccer is going to be like, not just beyond this year in their pursuit of a 3rd straight title, but how they're going to adjust when they lose a lot of the seniors, not just from this year, but for the class of 2026 after that.
I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see. I think the first few games from this team are really going to tell what kind of chemistry they have. Obviously, earlier in the year, you're probably most likely not going to be playing your best ball, regardless of the sport. But I think that this is the kind of team where you're really going to have a good feel for what kind of trajectory they're on early on.
And you still have someone the same leaders at key positions, Alex Simerton and goalie Brody Brackey at your last resort on defense. Those 2 guys are still there. They're still leaders of the team. And then you got seniors mixed all around who've been there. The juniors now, they were there last year. There's plenty of guys. Mr. Hoover, Mr. Monzu, they do a great job. I'm very confident in this team.
I mean, yeah, Coach Hoover, he's one of the most decorated coaches in the history of the state. So, you feel like he's gonna have his guys ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be prepared for whatever's going to come to them. There's going to be a lot of challenges for them this year. They're going to have that target on their back of just being the back-to-back state champions. Everyone wants to beat Prep in the first place anyway. Adding the 2 additional titles on top of that, every team is going to approach this game the hardest that they possibly can. So they're going to be facing the best possible opponents, the best possible version of their opponents all throughout this season. So this team's going to be prepared for it, but it's going to be a lot more difficult than maybe the past 2 state titles have been.
Yeah, they're going to get everyone's best. They're going to get everyone's most aggressive soccer. And I think that it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be telling to see how this team whenever they get punched in the mouth, how they're going to respond. Last year's team was a mix of a lot of different sophomores, juniors, and seniors. This year, it's a lot of juniors and seniors that have been in that situation now. It's rare that so many underclassmen like the sophomores last year have the kind of experiences they did. The state semifinal against Papillion La Vista South team went down early, and you wouldn't have known it because they played with the same aggression, they played with the same toughness, they had the same demeanor. It really felt like last year's soccer team, nothing was getting in their way. Even when they were down, it didn't feel like they were rattled in any way. And I think that specific, I keep going to it because it was like right there. But that game is what really opened my eyes to just how much heart this team really had. And I think that's going to carry over very well to this year.
Yeah, I mean, they've got the passion for it. They've got the talent for it. Now it's just you're going to have to deliver in all the games that are going to be important for you on your run to a potential third state title. And they've got the ability to do so. It's just whether or not it all comes together.
I mean, pieces are in place. Stage is set. They've done the work at this point. It's time to execute for them. So that should do it for soccer, I think. I would expect them to probably be one or two at least top three in the first polls. So we'll see where they end up. And I mean, if they're not one, that's just even extra motivation. But yeah, they're going to get everyone's best. This is a team they're ready, I feel. They're humble as well. So
Yeah, you don't play for Mr. Hoover if you're not a little humble. So
exactly. You played for the Great Prep logo that's on your jersey, and he doesn't let you forget that.
Yeah.
So soccer going for a three-peat. We'll shift now to baseball, who they are returning a lot of juniors and sophomores as well from last season. Most notably the 2026 trio of Cal Anthony, Braden Cato, Charlie Zayola, and obviously pitchers like John Lysek. Lot of talent coming back, but I think there's baseball team definitely has a lot of more questions to be answered, I feel.
Yeah, these last couple of years, they've been a consistent state team, but they haven't really been on the same tier as like Millard West or Lincoln East, the teams that have contended for state every single year. So they're going to have to take that next step to go from just a really good team to a great team. And it's going to have to be that junior class that you mentioned. They had 10 sophomores on the opening day roster last season. Carrying that into this year, they've got a lot more experience, a lot more chances to hone their game, and they're going to have to step up this year if this team wants to make that jump.
Yeah, I think that, as you mentioned, lots of sophomores on last year's team. Now they've got a year of varsity under their belt. I would expect to see them a lot more comfortable, a lot more composed, and I feel like they'll really be able to. I feel like they'll be able to find a groove earlier in the season. Last season felt a little iffy early on, but towards the end of the year, it really started like they started clicking with the district. They went on the road for districts, taking down Papillion La Vista, and it was either A5 or A6. I believe it was A5. I think, but then they went on and they beat Bell West in the first round of state. Like that team was really riding high for a good while there, and I think it really shows how much promise this team can have.
And they've got a lot of grit as well to go in and win a game on the road with your season on the line and then beat a team like Bellevue West in the state playoffs, just showing how hard this team fights, even if they're not the favored team in the matchup, which gives me a lot of hope as a lot of the guys get a lot better as they develop over their high school careers. There's a lot of hope for this team as they enter this season with a lot of these guys getting a lot more experience.
Yeah, I'm excited, honestly. I mean, spring sports is the only time that you and I get to broadcast two different sports at the same time. So I'm excited. I mean, and we're all big baseball guys. So I think we're looking forward to it. A lot of home games on the schedule for both of these teams as well, for both soccer and baseball. So that should be fun. Anything else we think we need to add for baseball?
I think we covered it all.
A lot of question marks, a lot of questions that are going to be answered, hopefully. So we'll see. We'll see what Coach Mooney and the squad have. I mean, obviously, they're always going to hopefully be contenders to an extent. As you said, they've been a pretty consistent state team, but they really haven't taken that leap yet. So we'll see. We'll see if they're able to get over the hump this year. But I'm confident in the squad. So, any other sport do we want to touch on track?
Let's touch on track.
Yeah, sure.
Well, we have a new track now.
We do.
So-
We do.
That, I mean, practicing, not having to drive 20 minutes for practice might be a little nice, I'd suppose.
Yeah. I think you both can attest to that.
Well, we ran 20 minutes to practice, so we didn't drive for cross country. So
Yeah, I think that old track kind of built character a little bit.
I mean, yeah, it felt like it was just it helped with like, oh, you're practicing on this dirt track, and then you get to go and run on very nicely paved, conditioned track surfaces.
So it should be easy now.
It should be, yeah. It should be,
exactly.
yeah, exactly. But is there anything that specifically stands out to this team?
You lose a lot of your distance guys from last year, but a lot of young distance guys coming in. You know anything about the sprinters?
Sprinters, they lost a couple of guys 2 years ago. Obviously, Jack Alugli, AJ Jones. A lot of those guys, Christian Lamphere, all going off to college 2 years ago, and they've had to try and rebuild a little bit. They've got guys that I think can contend for spots at state in the sprinter group, but there's a lot that needs to be sorted out. In terms of jumpers, they return Chris Baker, who the real standout, made state the last 2 years as a freshman and sophomore. He's a really exciting guy heading into his junior year. See if he makes that jump. Could eventually contend for Prep's school long jump record, which is about 23.5 feet. At this point, I believe Chris's personal best is 23.
Just thinking about that's crazy.
I mean, he's a junior.
Yeah. It's a long ways.
Yeah. I mean, you think about 23 feet. I can't jump that far.
No, I do not think you can. Like,
I mean, maybe if I was in like a trampoline.
I still don't think you could.
I know. That's the crazy part about it.
Yeah, I did the long jump for 2 years, and my personal best was like 15.5 feet. So.
And that's good.
So Chris is pretty good.
So Chris is pretty good, is
Yeah.
what you're saying. But yeah, obviously 2 years ago, state champions, but you lose a lot of those guys, and it showed in last year's team. But new year, new slate, new track.
Your track.
Yeah. Got anything else to add? Golf.
I mean, for Mr. Raz, we got to talk about golf.
What kind of students would we be if we didn't mention Mr. Raskerchek's golf team?
Me and my 20-plus handicap asked if I could try out, and I was told that I would be cut on the fifth hole and have to walk up the hill.
No, he told us, both of our 20-plus handicaps, that we would get at least 9 holes. But then he would leave us on, like, hole 13.
Yeah. So the golf team is supposed to be pretty good because we're excellent golfers.
We can't make it then.
Yeah. But there's a lot of new freshmen trying out for golf. It is actually a very high number compared to what it normally is. We return a lot of guys from last year. They're feeling pretty good.
Yeah, obviously Rylan having signed to play at the collegiate level. But yeah, you got a lot of guys that are ready to go. Maybe not us, but that's source of
That's
it.
we don't need to talk about that.
It's disappointing. Colton, anything?
I would probably do worse than you guys at golf tryouts, honestly. So I don't really have too much of a comment.
I mean, yeah, golf's gonna be pretty fun for us. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we lose Connor Steichen. That's a big loss.
Yeah.
But Tommy Kelly's back. Ryland's back. There's a ton of guys. Golf, I mean, it's a sport that you can definitely get a lot better in through the offseason because you play by yourself. You don't need to.
Exactly. And it's more of a. I mean, with any team sport, it's hard to. It's more of a
See how it
individual.
meshes.
But yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, training regimens for golf are just
It's crazy.
insane.
Yeah.
I mean, you're hitting so many golf balls.
And they're going straight. Like, what
and
is
they're
this?
going straight. How do they do that?
I don't know.
Mine just like.
We might need to take a class and learn how to do that.
We should probably.
Mr. Raz might need to teach us.
Yeah. Can he fix my slice?
Well, that's a tall ask.
Okay. It's better than yours.
I have a power slice.
Mine's a power slice. I mean, I just aim at like a 45-degree angle, and then it goes in the fairway.
So golf, they're gonna hit the ball straight.
Yep.
We're liking their chances this year.
Absolutely. I mean, is there anything else that we didn't touch on for spring sports? So I think that should about do it. Thank you, Jack, for lending us your knowledge this morning. Really appreciate it. But yeah, winter sports coming to a close. Maybe a bit on the disappointing end for a lot of the teams, just falling a little bit short. But overall, a lot to celebrate, a lot to be happy about, and a lot to look forward to going forward. So congratulations to all the winter sports and all of their finishes. But now we turn the page. Final home stretch of the year. We've got two really high level sports, or two very high level teams that are looking for state success, and obviously a three-peat for the soccer team. But other than that, I'm excited to cover all these teams, and I'm sure you guys are as well. But I think that'll do it for us here this morning. Thank you all so much for tuning in. That's Colton Alder. That's Jack Moore.
If you look on J Journal, the website, there should be sports previews for each of these teams very soon.
Absolutely, we will get those to you guys on jjournal.com before the upcoming spring season. But yeah, that'll do it for us here from Cage Report. Thank you all so much for tuning in this morning. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you guys after spring break. So enjoy the week off, and we'll see you guys come spring sports. So thank you for your time this morning, and have a great rest of your week.